Good afternoon, Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. I am in my truck today again because of the same reason, the wind. Came out this morning and made a video for the other channel, the Tack Room Bible Talk, and we barely got done before the wind just got absolutely crazy. And it died down, and I thought, well, I can go out and make the video for this channel, and then it just came right back up. And it's quiet right now, but I figure it could come up at any minute. So I finally said, well, we'll not take the chance. We'll just sit in the truck. Got my Partagas Black Label, not the 6x60 that I normally prefer, but that's my fault because I ordered a box and I didn't pay enough attention to the button that I clicked. So I got a small one, but it doesn't matter. It's still a really good cigar, and I really enjoy it. Mom and I went yesterday to the neighboring town, which is quite a bit bigger than the town we live in, to go visit my mom and to run some errands and pick up some supplies. I don't like going to town. As my regulars, as people on here know, I don't like going to Walmart. I don't like traffic. I don't much like people, okay? But we went, we did what we had to do, and visited my mom for a while. We were on the way home, and the traffic was, for me, it was a bit thick, and we were kind of out on the edge, fixing to leave town. And there was a vehicle in front of me, and in front of them was a newer white Cadillac. Oh, it was clean. It was a newer one. It looked really nice. Well, so we're sitting at a light, and there's two lanes going this way, and we're on the far right lane that's going to go through the light, and the light changed, and that white Cadillac just sat there. And the guy in front of me, after a minute, you could see him through the back window. He threw up his hands and he hit his horn. Now, he wasn't obnoxious about it. He just beeped. Because today people get on their phone, they don't pay attention. And the car didn't move, and so he pulled out around, and I pulled out. By the time I got done and got pulled out, the light changed again, so I'm still sitting at the same light. But now I'm one car length behind this white Cadillac, and it had moved forward, so it wasn't broke down. The light changed again. We sat through that whole cycle. Light changed again. We went through and we looked over. And the driver of that Cadillac, he must have been 114 years old. I mean, he was a little bitty, elderly fella. And he had a old flip phone up to his ear that he was just trying to. And we went on by. And Deanna said that poor fella, he's either lost or he's trying to something on the phone, and he's not having a good time of it, and he's trying the best he can. Well, I wasn't in any way impatient or irritated. We went on, and he went on too. He wasn't broken down or having a stroke or anything. And so we went on and kept going, and we talked about it a little bit, and she and I were talking about it this morning. I did that video I did for the Bible Talk was on people not having enough grace for each other, and most specifically to brand new Christians who aren't living up to the high level of Christianity that we think they should. And, we were talking this morning. I'm like, that applies to everybody, especially in this day and age, because you just don't know. We get irritated at fellow drivers. I don't see good at night. I don't drive at night unless I absolutely get stuck and I can't help it. So I don't see well. So when someone's coming towards me and their lights are on high beam, I'm blind. Okay, I can't see. And I get a little bit scratchy about it, and I'll fuss as they go by. But I was out the other night and I did that, and I went on down the road. And I came up over a rise, and a vehicle coming towards me. And just as they got right to the bumper, they flashed their lights and went on by. And I looked down, and my lights were on high beam. And so, I'm like, sorry, man. Of course, he can't hear me. But it reminded me that, a lot of things in life we forget. People aren't, in this day and age, if we're not careful, we get the idea that people are just being deliberately nasty or deliberately stupid. And I'll tell you what they're being a lot of times. They're being indeliberately human, okay? Just like all of us are. All of us, now there's some people just ignore their turn signals, and that gets me. I see somebody coming and I don't pull out in front of people. I hate when people do that to me, so I don't do that to them. All right, so I'm sitting there and there's somebody coming down the road and they look like they're coming at a pretty good clip, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to pull out so they have to get up close and slow down. I'll just let them come on by. And so I'm sitting there waiting, and they come up and they'll whip into where I'm at and come in there with no turn signal. And I'm like, man, if you'd given a turn signal, I could have just went ahead and gone if I'd known you was turning. But I'll forget my turn signals. We're all humans, okay? And we all forget, and we all make mistakes. Now, there are people who get on their stupid phone at a red light, and they get to chattering, talking, the light turns, they don't pay no attention. There are people out there that are aggravating. We're just chatting today, okay? That's all we're doing. One of the things in life that I'm like, I wish people weren't like that. I wish they wouldn't do that. Is people who push their shopping carts out into the parking lot to their vehicle and load their vehicle up and then drive away and left their cart sitting there, blocking parking places and out in the way. And that kind of aggravates me. But then my wife gently pointed out, she said, when I had small children and I'm out in the parking lot and I've got children I have to put in the car, I have to put the groceries in the car, and the cart return is all the way over there, and especially in today's deal, she said, I'm not going to go off and leave the vehicle with my children in it so I can go put the cart back. And I said, well, that makes perfect sense. And I watched, a lot of times we go to the store and I sit out in the truck and have a cigar. My wife's like, you don't have to come in Walmart with me if you don't want to. And last time I asked her, I said, well, do you want me to? She's like, no, I'd rather you don't. Okay, we're on the same page. So I'll sit out, watch people, have a cigar, and sit out in the parking lot and watch. And I saw another really elderly person, coming over, slowly pushing the cart to their car. And they took forever and slowly put the stuff in the car. Now, I thought about going over and offering to help, but I thought, man, all I'll do is scare them to death. So I watched in case they wind up needing some help. They put the stuff in. And then I thought, first off, I'm like, man, I hope that poor old guy doesn't try to push that cart all the way across over there to that cart where you park the carts and then shuffle all the way back to his car. I hope he doesn't try to do that. Bless his heart. And he didn't. He pushed it out of the way and got in his car and drove away. And I sat there and I thought, when I see a cart left in a parking place, all I see is the cart left in the parking place. I don't see who left it there. I don't see why they left it there. I don't see what their situation is, what's going on in their life. So I need to quit being such a ding-a-ling and getting aggravated at a situation when I don't know anything about the situation. All I'm doing is just getting aggravated myself for no purpose and for no reason. And, people ask me, one of the things people ask me a lot, I just went down this week. I went down this week and did a podcast. It's not been published yet. They're still doing the work on it. Down there with the Dave Ramsey group. Not with Dave Ramsey, not finances. I don't do finances. But it was with the program called Front Row Seat. And, and so I got a lot of questions like I usually do. It's like, how do us guys in today's society who are constantly irritated and constantly angry, what some things can help us with that? And, this is just another thing. And it's women too. I mean, we live in an extremely stressful time. I watched a video last night. I just watched a short bit of it. And I don't know if the guy was a doctor or a psychologist or anthropologist or historian. But he made a good point. He said, we are not designed to know everything that's going on around us in the world. Just emotionally and mentally, and we are designed to live in, small villages, simple life. We know what's going on in our situation. We know what's going on in our family. We know what's going on in our village, in our town. But now it's like we know the tragedies that are going on in Germany and things that are going on in the Netherlands. And if a plane crashes in South Korea, we immediately know about it. If a hurricane comes through and wrecks the coffee crop in Guatemala, we immediately know. But we know every major tragedy that goes on in the world, and we're not designed for that, And so we're a lot more on the edge these days, and we show a lot less grace. And if you were to ask me, Dwayne, what is the number one thing that helps a person be less irritated at their fellow man? I'd have to say grace. The more grace you have to your fellow human being, the less irritated you're going to be at them. Well, how do we get more grace? With more self-awareness. With true self-awareness comes grace. Because with true self-awareness, we realize how much grace we need. I pulled out in front of somebody the other day. I looked back, stiff neck, stiff shoulders. I looked back, and this thing was right here, and I looked in my mirror, and I pulled out. And because I didn't see him, and I look in my rearview mirror, and he's that far from my tailgate, and I'm like, oh man, I know I am getting called 17 kinds of bad words in 4 different languages right now. And I'm like, it's on me, man. I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't see you. I should have seen you. It was my responsibility. And when I realize that, instead of I just say, hey, you shouldn't have been driving so fast, if I realize my shortcomings, and if I realize how many people in the world around me on a day-to-day basis has to just give me some grace, because I didn't dim my lights. I didn't do it on purpose. But I didn't, okay? I accidentally pulled out in front of that guy. I did this, I did that. And when I'm self-aware, and I know when I am aware of my however unintentional actions that make somebody else's life even momentarily a little more difficult, then I can offer them the grace that I realize that I need. Okay? And so when someone pulls out in front of me, I have 2 choices, because I don't know that person. I don't know them. I don't know their life. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what they can see. I don't know about the pillar in their vehicle. I don't know. So I have 2 choices, and make no mistake, they are choices. Okay, hear what I'm saying. I can choose to believe, I don't know that person, but that person is just a thoughtless jerk. And so I'm going to get mad at them for being a thoughtless jerk. That is a choice, folks. Or I can choose to believe they did not mean to do that. They just didn't see me. There's a lot going on in their life. They're having a bad day. They're distracted. It was not deliberate. It was not on purpose. And so I'm just going to, it's all right. I'm glad we didn't crunch, and move on, and may the rest of your day be better. May the grace be with you. Okay? But I can't offer them what I don't feel like needs to be offered to me. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying? We offer grace. I teach horsemanship on here. And you cannot be a decent horseman if you can't offer grace to your horse. I mentioned in a couple videos back, we got another horse. Don't need another horse. But I saw this horse and I just liked him. So I bought him. I went up and did a help haste draft horses and mules up the road here, helped them for a week, put on a clinic, and I taught a little bit. And so they were out there doing some classes on harnessing all these great big huge draft horses to wagons and everything, and I wasn't needed at the moment, and that little horse is up there, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna pull him out, I'm gonna brush him, and I'm gonna work him a little bit. And I pulled him out, brought him over to the other side over there and tied him up and just went to brush him. And I looked down and he had some little dangles of just mud and stuff hanging from underneath his belly, right where the cinch would go. And I reached down to get that little bit of mud and pull it off. And that rascal kicked me. He kicked me right in the thigh. I mean, he nailed me, and he's a gentle horse, okay? And I took a step back and surveyed to see if there was any damage, and there wasn't. And so I stepped around a little closer to his head and reached down again, and he kicked at me again. And so I stood there for a second, and I said, okay, I need to make a choice. Now, we could have, first choice is I could get mad and go all nuclear on this little horse. That's not a choice. That was immediately discarded. I said, second thing I can do is we could have a bit of school here. We could approach it calmly, logically, but deliberately, and I could school this little fella that behavior is not going to be acceptable. And then I thought, you know what, there's a third choice here. I ain't going to put him back in the stall, because we've got 12 or 13 students here, and we've got 2 or 3 full teams of draft horses out there and all this stuff going on. And he doesn't know me. I don't know him. I don't know much about him. And this is just not really the best environment to set him up to succeed in a schooling session. So I scratched his neck and I pet him on his back, not his belly, and told him he was all right. I understood, and we were still buddies. And I let him back in there and put him back in his stall. I said, there'll be a better time, and things will not be so. And he had been up there 2 or 3 days, and they feed straight alfalfa. So he had also been in a stall eating alfalfa. And there's all this stuff. And I'm like, so my heart didn't even blip. Okay. My irritation, none of it. It just stayed flatlined. And I'm like, little fella needs some grace. Because if I was in his shoes, I'd probably kick at me too. And, but we have to go through life with that understanding. Now, not everybody deserves grace. Not everybody will accept your grace if you offer it. But that needs to be your first inclination. Your first inclination needs to be grace given from the viewpoint that there's been plenty of times where I needed grace in this situation. So how am I going to be such a knobhead? I'm not going to offer it to somebody else. That needs to be our first instinct. Our first inclination is offer grace. Now, if they want to throw in some road rage after I offer grace, if they just want to get stupid, I'll meet them more than halfway. That's fine. Okay, don't have a problem with that. If he'd have gone on the fight with me up there and got just really nasty, aggressive, we'd have dealt with it. But my first choice was to offer him grace and to say we can do better next time and go put him up. And your first choice, whether you're out on the road or you're at work, if you deal with the public and a customer comes in, the customer's not always right, but the customer is always a customer. Your first deal should be to offer them grace. You go in and you are the customer. you got someone behind the counter and they're not performing up to standards, your first instinct needs to be not get irritated, not get mad, but your first instinct ought to offer them grace. They're having a bad day today. Maybe they're having a bad life. You know, you don't know. And so offer them grace. Why? Because who knows how many times throughout your life somebody's offered you grace. And you have developed self-awareness. And you know that you cannot hold somebody else to a standard higher than you hold yourself. That is the height of arrogancy and hypocrisy. You cannot hold somebody else to a standard that's higher than you hold yourself to. And so if you go through life needing heaps and bounds and wheelbarrow loads of grace, then you are beholden to give out heaps and bounds and wheelbarrow loads of grace. Okay? Not only for their well-being, but for yours as well. Okay? So anyhow, I couldn't stop and help that old gentleman because he wasn't stopped. There was tons of traffic. It's super dangerous. But I drove away with my best wishes, and I hope that gentleman made it home safely. And I hope whatever he was trying to sort out, he got sorted out. And he wasn't trying to hold up traffic. He wasn't trying to cause any trouble. It was just that period in time in his life. That's where he was. And it made my life and my day so much easier. You ever have somebody pull out in front of you and just ruin your whole day? Why? Why? It didn't ruin their whole day. So why let it ruin yours? You ever had somebody be rude to you at the store and it ruined your whole day? Why? Why? Okay? Let's offer the grace that to our fellow man that we expect our fellow man to offer to us. Let's offer the grace to our horses that we expect our horses to offer to us. Okay? And let that be your first instinct. Now, if that's the first one that don't work, then you go to option number 2. But way more often than not, option number 2 is never necessary. And that's never the first choice. Okay? So anyhow, little encouragement today. We got some couple fellas coming in, old friends of ours coming in tonight, actually. And we're going to get some work done out here this week. And hopefully we'll get a little bit of video of that. Also, we're closing on the farm up top. A lot of the paperwork got done this week. And so we have to give the people that are in there 30 days to move out. But that's moving closer. And so we're extremely excited about that. We're going to go ahead and go up there and start doing some fence work and stuff here before too long. And we'll try to keep you guys updated on that. I know this channel's been pretty quiet lately. But it's just the nature of the beast. Okay, we'll get back up and running more regular here pretty quick. All right, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you more than I could ever say. And I hope you have a good day. Be logical, be reasonable, be safe, have fun, and be gracious. Just be gracious. We'll catch you guys next time.